Hi everyone, my name is Tobias from Klipstein, and I'm working for a company called Uxibu, and what we are doing, we're developing mobile applications with the open web technologies. And I will show you today what we did the last year, and I want to show you an application that we pushed to several devices. And as you can see here on this picture already, we have a simple application that we push to all these devices. There you have, for example, a BlackBerry device, you have a Windows Mobile, you have, this is a Vodafone device, and also Palm Pre and all others. And I will show you our experience we had with developing for all these different platforms. And yes?
So what version of Windows Mobile is that?
Sorry?
What version of Windows Mobile?
It's version 6.5.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
Okay.
All other versions before you don't want to support.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, but before I really start into explaining how we did that, I want to show you more the landscape of the mobile world, and it's really blurry at the moment. And here, for example, you see that is a web. You can't read the URL, but this is a website that is listing all the app stores that are available. And in July 2009, there were 14 stores where you can place your app in, and in September 2009, it already were 23 stores, and I looked it up yesterday, and we already have 34 stores where we can, or where we have to push our apps to if we want to reach all the devices. So when you want to write applications for all these devices, it's really hard to do that if you do it natively. So here, for example, for the iPhone, you have to learn Objective-C. For the Nokia devices, you have to learn Symbian-C, and this is going on. And it's really a pain if you have to use all this programming language just to build one and the same app. So this going on. But there's HTML, and it's the engine of the web. And why we've chosen HTML was mainly because, there are so many devs out there, and the potential to write applications for mobile devices with this open technology is really, there are so many people doing that. Then it's also really easy to write. It's common, easy to test. We have all the test tools already there. We have Firebug and everything. And we have a standard for that, and widely spread. So when did all that stuff started with the app hype? I think it started with the iPhone, and what the iPhone already came out with was a really impressive browser, and where you can do really impressive things. And this is a comment by Tommy Owen. He's a mobile analyst. And he's saying that 71% of all phones have a more modern XML web browser. What he's meaning by that is that there are also some browsers out there that just support the WAP standard. But at least 71%, that's really huge, a huge amount of mobile phones that support or have a good browser. So here's the comment stated. So, and one other interesting thing we've seen is there's a company who is building apps that aren't allowed to get into the App Store because of their topic they want to present. And they really have an interesting concept how they get around the App Store. So basically, it's just that you go to a URL, and what they are showing is really like an animated GIF showing, okay, here press the plus sign and add it to your home screen. And when you add it to your home screen, this application really feels like a native application. There's no difference anymore. What they also did, of course, is here, in that case, they implemented their own payment system. So it was just a pop-up where you enter your credit card information, and then it's installing an app for you. But it's all based on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, nothing natively. So once again, here, HTML works really everywhere. And it's a low-hanging fruit to support all, to use HTML to write applications with that. So I think you wondered about the topic of that talk, about what is an HTML5 app. And I will try to explain all the different standards that are out there and what I mean by calling apps that run on HTML5 or HTML or coin that term. So what we did to write Event Ninja, this was our first website, and we wanted to have a spot where we show all events we are attending the next time. And we thought, yeah, it would be a good idea to just place it on a mobile device and have it available there. Of course, you can say, yeah, you can just link it to a website, but then it's not as easy accessible as you place it in an app store. So the question is how we did that. So there are different types of apps that can be on a device. They can be pre-installed. They can be native apps that were pushed in an app store. You can have a website where you have your application running. But of course, when you have it on a website, the capabilities to access native functionalities on the phone are really limited. So you just can access, for example, the geolocation on the iPhone and the accelerometer. No, you can't get the accelerometer. But it's really not as much as you want, or you can do more with that. And there are HTML5 apps. And the access for the device-specific features are, of course, depending on the runtime. I think you all heard about PhoneGap, and it's allowing access to more functionalities on the phone. And I will show you some other things that also enable access to some native functionalities. So I go into detail. So here's the device. What we have there, it's basically you have something like an index HTML. You have a simple style, a style sheet, and then you have any Ajax library out there, and you have a database that is feeding these events. And what you then do is you zip it up, you zip all the files up, and what you then place in is a configuration file, a config XML, and you add an icon, and this is what you get out of there. It's a W3C widget. It's standardized. So it's standardized how you can pack HTML, CSS, JavaScript together and deploy it on several devices. And you can really just pick that W3C, the zip file you created, and put it into Opera and test it there if you want to, because they have a native runtime for W3C widgets. So then you're ready for that and can use it. So can you really use the W3C widget already on any phone? So yeah, you can. There are some devices that have these native capabilities to run W3C widgets. So one is this is a Vodafone device that already has that functionality on board. So you just can send a widget, a W3C widget, to that device, and you can run it there. So yeah, and of course you have HTML native support on the Palm Pre, but the packaging there is completely different. So I will go into that later. So yeah, you have these native capabilities, but Palm really is not not supporting the W3C widget yet. I don't know what their plan is to support that. Then you have native support on Android, Nokia with the Opera runtime, there's a W3C widget runtime from Opera. And you just have to install it, or you can install it on Nokia, several Nokia devices, and also on Android. And meanwhile, I think also on Windows Mobile. So here you see these are all devices that already support W3C widgets. And interesting is that Microsoft started to support W3C widgets since Windows Mobile 6.5. So you also just have to pack your widget file and place it on a device, and you can also place it in any app store. And the same is for the BlackBerry device. Since BlackBerry operating system 5.0, you can also place W3C widgets there. So yeah, and there's of course the iPhone and Palm Pre, and they really have the best HTML support. Yeah, and if you use that technology to write a W3C widget, what you get really for free is a Facebook widget if you want to write that, a dashboard widget, a website widget, a TV widget. Opera, for example, I've seen it at the MWC conference. They showed an Opera runtime that is running on a TV, or a W3C runtime. And it's really interesting just to get HTML, CSS, JavaScript on every device that is out there that has a screen. So yeah, here, this is a widget runtime on the bottom. And also here on our website, we're using that. We used it on the Dojo campus side. And here it's running on an iPhone. So, but also what I mentioned before about native functionalities. A phone is also like, it's a camera. You have a camera on nearly every device. You have compass sometimes. You have a calendar that you use. And a lot more native functionalities you want to use when you write your app. So there are really multiple ways to get that native functionalities into your W3C widget or any other packaging solution that is out there. So there's three, I would say, competing specs out there. There's a consortium called JIL that are defining a spec how to, or they have written a spec how to access native functionalities from JavaScript. And also there's another consortium. They also started to implement that. It's funny to see that. And I don't understand why they don't really work together. And they're also defining a standard for that. And there's, meanwhile, a W3C group that is trying to get all that APIs out there and bring it together to a good standard. And what we also have is, of course, PhoneGap. They have their own standard, how they access functionalities from their runtime. So these are all, and also Nokia WRT, Palm WebOS, they all defined their own API for the same thing. It's always just about, I want to get access to the camera, I want to see what the accelerometer is, and all these things. And I've written down below, there's also Google Chrome OS. I think they also will have something like native functionalities they want to use. And I hope so that they use any standard that is already existing. And as you can see, it's really getting complex if you want to write now an application, even if it's HTML, an HTML application. And that is using just making a picture with your app. So I hope in the future we will collaborate more together and find a way or a good API for accessing native functionalities. So when you really look at that, which platforms or phones support the different standards. And as you can see, W3C spec is supported by a Nokia runtime. Then, of course, Nokia WRT. They have that standard since several years. It's also running on a Nokia S60 device. Then there's Accelerator. They support currently iPhone, Android. I don't know how far they are with BlackBerry, but I think soon they will have something like that. Then, of course, yeah, PhoneGap. PhoneGap is really supporting a lot of devices, and maybe it's the right way to program applications now and use their existing API because they already support so many devices. And I don't know what PhoneGap is doing to work together with Bondi or Jill, but I think we will see that in the future. So, but what is interesting about PhoneGap is that their goal is that they are not existent. So this is what we really should aim for, that we just can access that API or this packaging that PhoneGap is doing, and that it's easily working and not as complex as it is now. So, but yeah, here you see a table, I think it's half a year ago. They already supported all the features on the iPhone they wanted to support. And here for the Android, the contact support was missing. And since, yeah, it's open source, you see the BlackBerry device is now better supported, and you can get an HTML5 app also on BlackBerry with the PhoneGap wrapper. So, and here are more, there's a table what they also support for native capabilities. And this will all will change more in the future, and we will see which devices will support which feature. So what also is interesting to see how big such an application is. And we took our Event Ninja application, and in total, the file that we place in the App Store was 300 kilobyte. And our JavaScript, HTML, and CSS was 120K. And if you subtract that, you really just have a footprint of 240K for PhoneGap. So it's really, really small. So you can imagine that you can install a lot of PhoneGap applications on an iPhone or an Android device. So now I will talk a little bit about our application, Event Ninja, and just to show you how we built that and what the focus was. So once again, the W3C widget standard, and we have an external database. And our external database, there we saved our events that we show in our application. And here you see it's really just basically a Google Calendar that we've chosen. We said we don't want to write a calendar again, and just picked up a Google Calendar and filled our dates in there. And then we really just packaged it up and brought it on the different devices. So here, this is a Nokia device with a different look and feel. Then this is running on Windows Mobile with an iPhone look. And this is Palm OS with a different layout. And it really just was mainly fixing browser bugs between all these different devices. And of course, we used a lot of CSS features to make the skinning different for each device. And here, for example, a BlackBerry device, then on Android, and on the iPhone. So, and then what we then wanted to accomplish to see where we could push these apps to. And here you see a list of all the app stores we pushed our app to. And for example, here you see also here the devices that are supported or where we tested Event Ninja on. And it's really a lot of effort to send the application on the device, test it, then you find a problem and do that again. It's really a lot of work. And here you can see also that getting into all the app stores, it was a manual task. It wasn't like there's no automation out there where you just place your application to and then it sends it to all the app stores. And also it was a large expense to get into all these app stores. Like I think everyone knows for the App Store you have to pay $99 each year to get your apps into the App Store. Then the funniest thing I think was Windows Mobile. There you charge your account with 50 euros. And every time you push your app to their quality assurance, you have to pay, or 15 euros are subtracted from your account. So after 3 submissions, you have to do it again. And sometimes you get feedback like, it's not working. And then you say, OK, why is it not working? And it's really ridiculous. And here you see, again, this charge from Distimo, which app stores we pushed our app to. And I think it's not so difficult to get into more app stores. But really, it's not worth the money to get into all of those. So what really felt was hard with developing for all these different devices. And we're not just talking about high-end devices like iPhone and Android. We're also talking about BlackBerry and Windows Mobile and Nokia devices. They don't have so much power. So what really was a pain was supporting all these different browsers. It's not true that we just have WebKit. If we have WebKit, we have a lot of different WebKits. The Android WebKit is completely different to an iPhone WebKit, and the Palm WebKit is different. And then we also have the browser of RIM, the BlackBerry, from the BlackBerry device. Then we have Fennec maybe in the future. I don't know how many devices will ship Fennec in the future. Then I think large is also Opera and Opera Mini. Opera Mini, for example, also has widget runtime. So, but the difference here for Opera Mini is that JavaScript is executed on the server. So what just is possible with Opera Mini is that you can write code that is using click events or mouse down events, something like that. So then you can write apps for that. But if you want to have more like animations and dynamic stuff, that doesn't work. And also Bolt, it's something similar, like Opera Mini. They also have a widget runtime. Oh, and I forgot IE. There's also IE, Windows Mobile, and they have a widget runtime. And it's also funny. They brought out Windows Mobile 6.5 about half a year ago. And they have a strange mixture in their browser. They have a rendering engine of IE6 and a JavaScript runtime of IE8. So it's really hard to distinguish what is then used. And what I've heard, the new Windows Mobile 7 will have an IE7, so at least a little bit better. But I don't know what they will do. But at least the Opera runtime is always running on Windows Mobile, so you can just place an Opera runtime there and be happy. So yeah, there's also not much more pain. We're in the mobile space, we have to handle touch and key events that we don't have to care about so much on the desktop browser. And yeah, this is a big, big pain. That we have to support several different screen sizes. If you now look at the iPad, you really have large screen sizes, and I think it's not just sufficient to pump up or to zoom into that application. I think you also have to give a different experience on every device that has a different screen size. So we have to think about what how we will handle that. So, and as you've seen, the packaging and the deployment to all these different app stores is really complex, and it's a lot of work to do that. So it could be really painful. And performance is a big, big issue. And you really have to be careful what JavaScript functionality you use to write your application. And code size really matters. If you deploy your HTML5 app on a web server, it's really dependent how you have to download and how much is cached. Like for example, the iPhone browser is caching 25K uncompressed. So if you use gzip it, it doesn't help. It's really like the pure JavaScript code uncompressed that can be cached. So you have to care.
Isn't that cache much higher now? That was only true like back in iPhone 1.9.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. So, but there are also a different device like the Nokia devices. They handle it also different, and I think we still have to support older devices and also older older browser environments. So because people don't just upgrade their system all the time. So, and also what is really hard, testing on all those devices. And I think not everyone has all these devices at home. They cost a lot of money, and we need a solution for that you can access all these devices. There's, for example, one interesting service called Perfecto Mobile. They really have there you have access to a lot of mobile phones, and you pay a monthly fee. And what they then do, you have a camera and look onto a device, and they put it into like a holder and place it there, and then you can place your application there and test it. It's really, maybe it's a good tool to do that, and a lot cheaper than buying all these devices. But yeah, there's a lot of relief. I think using all the existing JavaScript frameworks also is a big relief, but it's they help you a lot, but you're not completely there. I would say 90%. There's 10% missing. And as I know, John, you're currently also writing at getting more mobile support into jQuery.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm testing against mobile devices.
Yeah.
And getting the test suite passing on all the devices.
Yeah. And I hope so that more frameworks will do that, and that all the frameworks can be used in the mobile space without explicitly testing every little tiny bit and checking if something is not working. But I think there's still a lot of work to do to support all those devices. So, and also there's Smooth Touch, JQ Touch, IUI for solving at least the problem to write applications now for the iPhone, or that they look like an iPhone. But there will be, I think, more look and feel, different look and feels for different platforms. Then there's XUI, the JavaScript framework of PhoneGap. It's also interesting because they really care about file size and about features within their JavaScript framework. So it's a good start if you want to write a simple application. You can use XUI. So, and what also really helps a lot is using CSS transitions or media queries to support, get the speed, the performance on the device, and also supporting the different screen sizes. So, of course, yeah, then JS packers, just to keep the file size small, and all the existing debuggers that are out there, like Firebug, and you can just test it in the browser and have the same tools as you would normally write web applications. So this is just a small thing. Position fixed is a problem on iPhone, on Android. You can just do it. And so next week there will be a release by David Aurelio. He's written a touch scroll JavaScript library or a helper that helps with scrolling like panes. And he worked on that for 3 months and tested it all on the different devices, and will be out next week. And we're also currently working on a Dojo mobile, and you will also hear something about in the next weeks. So the conclusion of all that is all these different packaging systems that are out there, Accelerator, PhoneGap, and so on. I would be happy if we're not talking about specific platforms like Palm WebOS or just PhoneGap. I would be really happy if we coined that term HTML5 apps, and that everyone can use that term. It's not technically completely correct, but I think it's easier to sell that to someone who is not into our business. And so this is my conclusion of HTML5 apps. So thanks for listening.